Welcome to Go Home Heat, a wrestling podcast. Jushin is here via the Modern Miracle technology. We have another version of the pandemic episodes as I have quarantined myself from the world for just a moment or two. I'm feeling fine. Do not worry about me. I'm just stuck. Okay, so Raw starts out. This is the sports entertainment version. Justin, we start out Raw with the Universal Champion, Drew McIntyre, coming out, and who is quickly interrupted by Dolph Ziggler. Both he and Rude have been traded to Raw for AJ, which tells you their value.
Yes.
Dolph wants what Drew owes him, which seems to be a title match. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but then again it does because Drew kind of rebooted his WWE career as Dolph's. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. They came in, like, when he came up from NXT, they were a tag team, which they never really needed to do, but they didn't. I mean,
they were a
good.
They were a good tag team, right? And then they both had battles with Ambrose and Seth there for a little while. I felt like that did do Drew some good, and it allowed him to get in some work to remind us of how good he is. Well, those of us who watch NXT didn't need that reminder, but you know what I mean. I do like where they're going with this, in that I know that Dolph will give us good promos. I know that he'll give us a fantastic match.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I think so. It's just hard to take him seriously as the title. Like, but, you know.
You just know they're not going to let him win.
Yeah. I mean, what makes me think it's going to start now? There's not a real lot of intrigue in this matchup. It's going to be a great match.
Right. A great match, and Dolph's going to lose.
Yes.
The more interesting story to me would be if Dolph loses, but Rude jumps him after that, and then we get a Rude program with Drew where Rude winds up having Dolph helping him here and there along the way.
Yeah, that could be good too.
Just makes more sense to me. Okay, but now we have a Nia Jax segment where she goes to the ring. And as we know, if you go to the ring with a chair, that means the show is now on hold.
Yeah.
Right? And so she's going to hold the show hostage, or she thinks she does, until the 24/7 7-Eleven title holder. This is Championship Monday, remember. So we have R-Truth approach the ring. Mm-hmm. And now Nia can't keep a straight face, which is...
Because R-Truth is accusing her of being a Kirisawa in disguise, which is excellent.
Absolutely. Then R-Truth thinks that maybe Nia is actually Akira Tozawa in disguise because ninjas are...
Masters of deception.
Correct. Wonderful. And so, turns out that was not true, and the ninjas and Tozawa attack. R-Truth flees, enters Charlotte. An argument ensues in which Charlotte hurts her arm, but fends off Nia. And now we have what they call art imitating life.
Yes.
We've written
that was the least dangerous injury she's ever inflicted on somebody because it was made up for it.
Right. Yeah, and so after they've cleared the ring, we get a Vikings Prophet review.
Wait, one sec. Did you see where she was supposedly hurt her left arm in that whole scrum? Really?
Well, I'm assuming because she supposedly has left. I was going to get there later, but she supposedly has left to have some work done on her shoulder.
Well, yeah, she had to have surgery, but that was injured that night. So I guess they're kind of halfway selling that. But it's just, why didn't she put her in an arm bar? Why didn't she fake stomp her shoulder or something like that? You know, they let Asuka do it to her later in the night. Why not, really sell the injury? They didn't do a lot to sell it.
Why not let Nia grab a hold of an injured body part and yank on it when you already have a match scheduled later in the night?
I mean, yeah, I think that's a great idea. They certainly showed a lot of trust in her, and I think we should reward that trust with more trust.
Man, they probably were like, all right, just go out there and we'll move the camera away and back and we'll act like it happened during that portion.
We're not risking this. There's no way.
Right. We only need one more match out of Charlotte. We've been running her like a dog for the last month. So anyway, Street Profits and the Viking Raiders are going to wind up having a match after we understand that they're actually the Avengers. And we do get a good match.
We got a great match.
Absolutely. We get a great match, and then we get a cartwheel off, which I don't know what that was, although I'm guessing that is to remind me that the month of bowling, ninja fighting, and axe throwing was not for nothing.
Yeah. That was all to build that spot.
Right. So anyway, they wind up winning. The Profits do wind up winning, and they get jumped by Andrade and Garza, and I'm hoping that this will be something as that reignites a faction which we thought had died and we didn't want to see die. We did get a reunion of the Viking Profits, which they had split ways for 7 to 12 minutes, so we had to get them back together.
Well, and I got to give Montez Ford a lot of credit because that was one of the most beautiful frog splashes I've ever seen.
Lord, he about hit the roof.
Didn't he? That was one of the greatest frog splashes I've ever seen in all of watching wrestling. Rob Van Dam was sitting at home going, that dude's almost as good as me.
Right.
With that move.
Well, the thing is, too,
he's probably better.
Yes, that's what I hope about Andrade and Garza in something with the Profits. I don't think that they'll win, but if we could get back to wrestling and allow Dawkins and Ford to highlight what they're good at everything, but what brings you to the dance is if you can go, and they can both go, and Garza and Andrade can go. And so if we get them in there with one another and let them tell some stories, that could be a fun month for us.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Absolutely. Now then we get the Messiah backstage. Seth will reveal all soon. Legends never die, but sometimes they do outstay their welcome, which is true with anybody. People outstay, Charlotte leaves the doctor's office, and by golly, she will not miss this match. That's not how she rolls.
That's not what she does, buddy.
No. Charlie approaches Garza, Andrade, and Zelina, and we get another beautiful woman promo, which to which Zelina gets jealous and interjects that she's right here and she's the one they should be talking to. And now we got a match. Championship match, Asuka versus Charlotte. This is fantastic. They tell the story of the injury along with all the great wrestling they do. The finish is Charlotte going into a power bomb of Asuka. She goes for the cover, which is countered by a chicken wing, which winds up getting rolled into a crossface. I mean, dude, are you kidding me?
Dude, the whole sequence where she goes from an arm bar, a shoulder breaker, really more than an arm bar, and then she twists over into the triangle. Then Charlotte picks her up into the power bomb, which everybody always does, and it always annoys me that they don't let go of the legs. But Asuka eats the power bomb and then immediately transitions into slips the Asuka lock on her with the chicken wing and the crossface on it. And it's just they are so good together. Everything they did, and that was not a long match, but everything linked. It was so well done.
Yeah, and we're going to miss Charlotte as she goes away. But we aren't done with her getting beat up yet on the shoulder. Edge promo is next, and it was spectacular. He was disappointed that he didn't go for the low blow first.
I liked it.
Dude, I loved it. The whole, you're going to wish Cowboy Bob was shooting blanks the night you were.
Blank.
Come on, dude. That whole thing. The point of, I came back here being Mr. Goody Two-Shoes, and that's not even who I am. It's not who I've ever been. Kind of an almost, I've been lying to myself, and thank you for reminding me of what I've been lying about. I loved it. But then Randy gives a promo after that, but who really cares? There's nothing you can say after Edge goes scorched earth like that. It was fine. It just...
No, dude. Even Randy has to, whatever I say here, I'm following Hendricks. So
Yeah, absolutely. And so
doesn't matter.
then we cut back to Charlotte, and she's getting bludgeoned backstage, and now Nia can really go to work on that arm because the match has happened. She slams it in and out of something for a little bit, and we're done there. A gaggle of ninjas chase R-Truth to the ring now, and we think that a gaggle of ninjas versus R-Truth might be unfair until Lashley shows up and ensures that it will be unfair.
Yes.
And and he puts him in a full Nelson, and Tozawa was under the ring because the gaggle. What?
Well, he's a ninja.
He is a ninja.
Where do you expect him to be?
This was perfect. I mean, if we're going to be clowns, let's be clowns, right?
Do it well.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of the show.
No, and as you have, the placement wasn't bad either. I mean, you're rolling your eyes about Nia being in the ring altogether with the chair, and then Truth comes out and makes that bearable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you place it in the right spots and it works. Now, speaking of the interesting things that work, maybe Natty comes to the ring with Lana, and I did think this worked a little bit.
I don't have any problem with it.
No, it worked. Liz had a couple of good moves that worked. Lana distracts her. She goes for the sharpshooter. I thought it worked. I thought it was interesting that later on they wind up having Ruby Riott go by Liz and possibly wanting to get the band back together, something like that. Teasing that at least. I like the idea of having... We have a women's tag team division, right? So putting the two people that can go a little bit, one that's a little bigger, one that's a little smaller, into that division is fine. It worked before. Okay, now we have the Big Show.
Big Show.
And he's headed to the ring because Ric Flair is headed to the ring with Randy Orton to pronounce him the greatest wrestler of all time. Show, of course, interrupts this and claims that Randy might be a narcissistic parasite. Nobody disagrees. Show, Randy interjects that Show might even be a legend, alluding to the fact that at some point he's going to kick Show in the head if he gets a chance.
Yes.
But what happens next is up to the Big Show. And he flees because one thing Randy is he's smart. And you're not going to fight the Big Show in a fight. You're going to get him in a wrestling match, and then you're going to cheat.
Exactly. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Right. Or just jumping with a car or something. I believe hitting Big Show with a car is the best plan of action. Sasha
I might err on the side of a truck.
Yes, in case he hurts your car and continues to come forward.
Yes.
Sasha and Bayley versus the Iconics. We get a good little match. Sasha and Bayley go over. Then we get the swerve when Sasha says, I want to be Sasha 2 belts, but I want Asuka's belt. And now we have ourselves a match of the year candidate all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And with Charlotte gone, that gives Sasha a chance to re-anoint her. Funny thing about this company is weird. I think it happens organically, but when Seth got his run from the Shield kind of sort of breaking up, but he wasn't a bad guy anymore, to, hey, we think he can win a title, was him wrestling every week as the champ, the mid-card champ, and having good matches, right? And then I think that was when the antenna went back on where they went, oh, yeah, that's right. He's really good. We forgot that for a second. And Sasha has been wrestling for Bayley now for the better part of a month and a half. Every time Bayley gets in trouble, Sasha's the one who fights for her. When they wrestle together, Bayley doesn't do as much in the ring on the tag matches as Sasha does. And as you see that time and again, I don't know whether it's the chicken or the egg, but you start realizing, and they start giving you Sasha more and more in these main events, and she's really good at pro wrestling.
Dude, she is so good.
Yeah. Okay.
She is world class, and the thought of her and Asuka getting to wrestle maybe a couple times, dude, I'm excited.
As well you should be. And then we wind up with MVP lets everybody know that he's in the hurting business. And Lashley and him try to recruit our man, Apollo Crews, but Apollo will not be swayed. And so he's invited to the MVP lounge, and Shelton Benjamin is the guest of honor, and then MVP starts putting a boot to Apollo when he doesn't pay attention, or Sheldon does first, whatever. First lesson for free: don't fight two guys at one time. Then we get a match, and Sheldon's still pretty good. Quick, short, Apollo gets the win. Sheldon showcases himself just a little bit. Lashley attacks Truth, and Apollo go down to the Dominator.
Yes.
All that happened. Okay, I want Apollo to give in and be in this faction, but he doesn't have to be, because either way, he's getting to show personality, and he's had trouble doing that.
Uh-huh.
And when he stagnates on these personality things, MVP's there to pull him through the sentences and take him in places he needs to go.
Yeah.
You know, whether he's with him or against him. You know, now...
either way, he needs MVP.
Yes, he absolutely needs MVP.
I think a lot of guys can benefit from MVP.
The whole show needs MVP.
Who would have thought we'd ever said that even 6 months ago?
Right. Well, the thing is, right, you have a title belt that's interesting. You have MVP that's interesting. And you have Seth that's interesting right now. And so you can build around those things. You have Orton and Edge, which are interesting right now. And then when you split Orton and Edge up, now all of a sudden you've got 5 directions you can kind of go with the show. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And every show can have those 5 things, or 3 out of 5, and you can give 2 guys the week off kind of thing. It works when there's more than one thing going on. The best time in wrestling history was when we had Hunter in a program, Rock in a program, Austin in a program, Foley in a program, you know, and they didn't have to be in programs with one another because they all could carry programs on their own, and they could all make. And some of them, you know, there was a long time there where Mick wasn't going to be in the title picture. Eventually he got there, but it didn't matter, because you knew if somebody's in a program with Mick, there's going to be issues for the whole time period. You knew if somebody was in a program with Hunter, they're going to get roughed up for a month or 2 before the payoff. Payoff would a lot of times be him losing, but by the same token, you would get there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Speaking of which, Rey Mysterio and soon-to-be Apostle 3 Dominic are in the ring, and Seth is torn because... Seth is torn about what he's going to do here, but luckily, it's not up to Seth, it's up to fate. And as he kneels to pray, the evil heels, Alistair and Carrillo, attack from behind, and Buddy and Theory get overwhelmed, and they interrupt Seth's prayers. He's trying to figure out, you know, what's the moral thing to do here for the greater good. And it's 4-on-3, which is exactly what happens when you have heels. Now all of a sudden it's 4-on-1 as they're trying to take Seth's eye out, which is not, I mean, that's not a good thing to do to people. Seth didn't want to do it when he did it to Rey, you know?
No.
Luckily, Seth and Buddy save him, and then they attempt to sacrifice Dominic's eye for the greater good, of course. They didn't want to do this, but, you know. But they didn't do it. See, fate didn't allow that. So that wasn't the way we were going, because that might have hampered Dominic's joining the faction.
Yes, the whole one eye thing.
Yes. Well, he wouldn't be as much help with one eye for sure. Seth and Co. lead to higher ground. And back to the thing we were talking about earlier, the shows are better when somebody's able to entertain. Seth is Seth is not only losing every pay-per-view right now, he's almost losing every episode. Every now and then he gets to stand up. There's big moments where he gets to stand up high, where he stomps Alistair's head in the ground after he loses a match. or he loses a match and he takes Ray and shoves Ray's head into the thing. But as a general rule, he doesn't get any wins here, but he still seems formidable.
Mm-hmm.
And if he gets into
I agree.
and if after Extreme Rules he loses to Rey Mysterio, oh my God, what are we going to do about Seth? It sucks. He never wins. He can walk right out, stomp Edge's head into the ground on Monday night, and he's off and running in another program, and nobody cares that he lost the last 3.
Doesn't matter because you're heel.
That's right. Doesn't matter because you're heel. And if you can manage to get Dominic in there with him, or you can give him Dominic, and you can take this Mysterio thing on out a little while, or give him Dominic, take this Mysterio thing out a while, and have him lose a feud with Aleister, and kick that Edge thing down the road even further.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like about this was Aleister Black is an afterthought. And I don't think he's an afterthought.
Yes. The only way for this to really be cool from an Aleister Black perspective is for this thing to spin out and him to be the guy to take on Seth one-on-one as other things happen on a lower level behind that with, it switches where Aleister's taking on Seth and Carrillo and Ray are taking on, or Carrillo and Dominic are taking on Thorne and Buddy.
Yeah.
Now, that would be interesting, too, if Ray isn't involved or is involved as a bystander and you let Dominic kind of be in a tag team for just a little bit with the other 2 guys. And then, of course, if you want to turn him heel on that, that's pretty cool in its own way, too. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So, anyway, you enjoyed the episode?
I did.
I did, too. I thought it was awesome. Welcome to NXT. Damian Priest is attacked in the parking lot. The NXT parking lot is a dangerous place.
It's dangerous in any wrestling promotion's parking lot.
Yes, I would figure out back gates if I was a pro wrestler.
Well, I'd get a taxi.
Yes. Get dropped off at the front door, walk right in. Yeah. Well, yeah. Uber. Use it, guys. Use it. Lyft. Come on. He gets his back injured in the parking lot, and out comes Cameron Grimes to give a promo because Priest is not going to be able to wrestle, count him out. But no, Priest will not be stopped because he is now a babyface, and he struggles to the ring, and we get a nice little match where Priest sells his injury but comes up a little bit short. What'd you think about that little segment?
I thought it was good. It's advancing both characters. You're slowly you're turning Priest into it's not a baby face, a tweener. So
yeah,
I thought it moved that forward. I would like to see these guys get wrestle full match.
Absolutely, and I think we're getting to that. I think we're getting to that. But I did like what they did here. I liked, because of what. You're also, when Damian has a back problem, you're also reminding people of the bump he took for you at the pay-per-view. And you're reminding people, oh, yeah, this guy had a main event caliber match. That's why his back hurts. It's not just that injury in the parking lot, right? You're reminding people of who this character needs to become. All right, so.
Exactly.
Roger Stone and Rhea are in the parking lot now. Parking lot, again, troublesome. Stone winds up giving some over-the-top stuff here, which turns into him being tossed into a trash bin. Alea's not happy, slaps my girl upside the head, and this is not going to go well for her.
That did not.
Just dumb.
It was going to turn out
dumb. Timothy Thatcher is going to teach more submission style, Stu Hart style submission work, and I thought this was a well-done segment as well. What'd you think?
I think he continues. I like it. It shows, it just broadens the character out a little bit. I would rather watch him wrestle, but I like it.
Right. They're doing good stuff here. They're setting us up. Santos Escobar versus Jake Adles. Mendoza and what's that little guy's name on the other side? Wild.
Joaquin Wild.
Wild, yeah. They're there to watch. Escobar gets very little offense in here, which was interesting to me, but he does wind up going over and Phantasma wins, and I don't know if that's what they're going to call the faction, which I think is a cool name for them.
Uh-huh.
And Escobar looks like he could be a really good heel style champion because he does seem to be a willing seller in the ring with these guys.
Oh, dude, yeah. He's not. He's got all the talents. He's got the look. I think he has a cool villainous look to him.
Mm-hmm. Adels needs a little work.
Yes.
He's a tad bit slow on everything, which is strange for a guy that you can tell is very coordinated. Could be he hadn't worked with a lot of these guys, but you know, he needs to pick up the pace a little bit.
I imagine keeping up with Los Santos is pretty difficult too if he wants it.
Correct. Back to the couch. Roddy thinks he's conquered his fears. He's just now realizing that that's Kyle O'Reilly, which is interesting. But he's going to have to fight Loomis to really get over his fears after he's gotten into the trunk. And, okay, we're going to get that later. Bivens and Indus they want a piece of Lorcan and Birch. Again, I don't mind that at all. We get Katz and Caden versus Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. It's pretty well done, I thought. A lot of potential in the ring there. Dakota goes over with a submission, which I like that they've gotten her a submission hold. She's not big enough to do the other move a lot, the other finisher. And then Gonzalez seems to be very loyal. And I almost wish they would give us some reason as to why she's so loyal, because it seems like she could totally break away from Dakota and be a bigger threat. But so I almost wish they'd give me an excuse to understand that, but I do like her being there. You know, that Diesel's protecting Shawn Michaels type thing, you know? I like it.
It works.
Yep, it does work. It's timeless. All right, Karrion Kross and Scarlett versus Bronson Reed. Two big guys. Bronson gets to look strong for a moment.
Yeah, he did.
And I like him. I think the whole purpose of the first couple of offensive things he did was to let you know he's formidable, because I think they're going to try to use him more. But obviously this is the wrong place, wrong time, and Karrion goes over. What you liked it.
It's also to show you that Karrion can take a super hit.
Right. He was in there with a big dude. He took some blows, and it derailed him, but not for long. He was able to still finish in an imposing fashion. Yeah, okay. Now, we get Rhea versus Aliyah and with Roger Stonebrand, and Rhea basically beats up on both of them, which is foreshadowing, because she will wind up beating up on both of them at a pay-per-view, it seems like, or at another event. Fish and Strong versus Loomis. Strong isn't actually over his fears yet, as we see him running quite a bit.
I thought this was fun.
It was, and Loomis looks ever the imposing, crazed psychopath. Roddy and Undisputed Era is a group of very talented wrestlers who are also smallish and cowardly. It works. Yes. It's great. Mm-hmm. Strong's the only one that kind of goes in there full bore, and to have him be the one that's all of a sudden scared of something is really good.
Yeah, and Loomis, man, that dude is just...
He's money.
And the way he kind of snuck up on Fish, they did that really smooth too. Absolutely.
Robert Stonebrand wants a tag team match against Rhea Ripley, and if Stone can win, Ripley will join the brand, to which Rhea agrees because she just wants to beat him up. And either way this goes will probably be fairly fun. If Ripley winds up somehow...
Oh my God, that could be hilarious.
You could have her lose on a disqualification of some kind, and then
That'd be the funniest thing.
just slap that dude around the whole time he's their manager till he gives her up.
Yeah.
And
Or she'll make him into a good manager.
And you're finding a place for him to be. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. You're finding a place for her to be while we let Ia defend her. So then we wind up with Balor, Gargano, and Lee for the North American title. And this is everything it should be. It's three of the great wrestlers in your company. One that is one of the great wrestlers around the world for years on end. One that has built your company. And one that is probably the future of both NXT and WWE. Dude, I see
Really did
Lee.
have good mix there.
Lee screams Dusty Rhodes to me. And it may just be that they're both overweight, but he's more athletic, obviously. He's not, nobody had the charisma Dream had, but he does give you that matter of fact, I'm bad and they know I'm bad feel, if that makes sense.
And he really does. And he's, I don't know, he's very charismatic though too. I mean, he's not just, what's it saying?
No, not at all. He's very charismatic and he's very athletic. And he's, you know what he is? You know, we complain on the other show about Michael Elgin trying to do too much. Elgin's trying to be what Keith Lee is.
Yes. Yes.
A big man that can
Keith Lee does not want to be a thumb wizard.
No. But he's like, I can do all these moves, but he doesn't know how to do them and stay a big man. Whereas Lee totally can do all those moves, saves them for when it matters.
Yes.
And
just do it.
Yes. He winds up getting the big catastrophe for the win. I love the big catastrophe. It's
Big Bang Catastrophe.
Yes, and that's basically Goldberg's jackhammer, right?
Yeah.
But it's so much different when it's a man of his size engulfing what he's landing on.
Oh, dude, just crushing it.
The whole ring concusses. It's so good. Okay, so we like this episode.
Oh, dude. Well, it was NXT. Of course we did.
Of course we did. We're marks. We love it. Okay, SmackDown is next on Friday night. This is a Taker episode. And so I would tell you, if you want to get what they gave you in this episode in depth, go to the WWE Network and watch the 5-part series that has been critically acclaimed by sports magazines, newspapers, anybody who's seen it. It gives you a look inside probably the greatest gimmick in the history of pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy who kind of, in a way, forced himself to live that gimmick. And and what that did to a man as he tries to figure out. The real struggle is, how do I become Mark Calloway again when I haven't been that in so long? And it's great. And the career is great. He was the leader in the locker room. It was undisputed. Vince doesn't survive WCW without him. If at any point he goes south, it's all over. Because then, if nothing else, as much as you may not, you specifically may not like Sting, being able to put Sting and Taker and their gimmicks, you change it up a little bit for copyrights or whatever, but put their gimmicks in the ring together would have engulfed wrestling at that moment.
Oh, I'm not saying it wouldn't have. No. It would have been great.
I don't know if the match would have been great.
No.
Taker's
but
pretty.
The build-up would have been great.
Absolutely. Taker's pretty doggone good, though. Now, they do go from Survivor Series. You get on the network in the 5 episodes. Of course, you're getting 6 hours or so of television. You get Batista, you get Hunter, you get Shawn, you get all these people telling you why it matters. In this, you get a little bit of that. You get a little bit of the Boneyard match, which is probably going to be Taker's last match. If it is, great. The struggle on
about AJ Styles getting to be Taker's last match, man.
Well deserved.
That's an honor.
That's right there. You could say, oh, I went around the world. I won a bunch of Wrestler of the Years. I had a bunch of great matches. I carried a company from its infancy on my back. I had unbelievable matches with Angle, and oh yeah, Taker's last match was mine.
Yes, that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
That's like Shawn Michaels' biggest thing in his career. He's Rick's last match, man.
Right.
The one that
Shawn may have had like the best collection of matches in wrestling history, and that's not what matters.
No.
What matters is he allowed Rick to go out on top, even though Rick wound up doing some things in hindsight. But you know what I mean? He gave Rick on the biggest stage he could the match that mattered, and unluckily due to the pandemic, but luckily for them, they were able to figure out a scenario that allowed Taker to do the same. And I'm not 100% sure AJ couldn't have got that match out of him in a ring, but this was cooler.
I was much cooler. I had no problem with it. I loved it. It's a guy who did this his whole career, man. He evolved. When other people, he kept changing it. It was always, core was always the same, but he just kept evolving it.
Yeah.
Him and Chris Jericho are probably the two best, at reinventing themselves over and over and over and over again to stay in front of it.
But Jericho, don't get me wrong, what Jericho's done is amazing. But he had much wider parameters with his character.
Oh, yeah.
Taker literally, he had to change it, but he couldn't do comedy. He couldn't do...
No, you couldn't flip it now. He still had to be a badass.
Right. Yes, and it worked. It worked. And thank God for him. I appreciate Taker. I appreciate the career. I wouldn't
He's
even...
the guy that got me into wrestling.
Everybody.
Bar none. Yeah.
Everybody. You hear that bell ring, There's not a guy that's ever been in the ring with him, or a guy that's been backstage with him, or a guy that's turned on the TV and said, hey, I like wrestling, that when they hear that bell ring, they, for whom the bell tolls. You know what I mean? And you feel it. Now, Corbin, it does not, though. And he says Taker has been protected for 30 years and that he was the initial member of the Kiss the Arse Club for Vince.
Uh-huh.
And...
high points in wrestling history for those of you who don't remember that.
Of course. Now, Hardy comes out and is not having it. And if you remember, you'll remember, but Hardy was this daredevil tag team wrestler, and then he had a match with Taker. And Taker beat the holy hell out of him. And every time Taker thought he was down for good, he kept answering the bell. And when it was over, Taker picks him up off the ground and is like, golly, you're a tough kid and all that. And that one match, those 20 minutes or 15 minutes, changed
taking the whooping.
Changed the trajectory of Jeff Hardy's career. That's the level of star he was. Taker was.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden...
And no doubt that who decided that was a Taker call, probably. That kid needs a rub, and I'll do it. And, I'll make him look good.
Right. Not only... Jeff could have gone out there and looked good with anybody.
Yeah.
Jeff couldn't go out there and do that with anybody because Taker's moves feel like they're finishing you every time. When JR would scream those soup bones, you were like, oh, yeah, that is a good right cross. Good right hand, good right hand. Everything he does, the pile drivers, the jumping over the ropes or diving at you at 6'9", 6'10", 270 and hitting you. It's different when it's coming from him. It just is. The only thing comparable is Kane, and Kane isn't on that level of athleticism that Calloway has.
He was a little bit bigger and he couldn't quite do as much athletic stuff.
Yeah, athletic for a big guy, but Taker was just athletic. And and he's a big guy, I'll never forget the story goes that when Shawn and him were looking at the first Hell in a Cell, Shawn was like, I told Vince that the cell was too painful to wrestle in because they had those old blue bars, the steel bars, and Vince was like, I'll come up with something, and then he came up with this monstrosity because he's Vince, and Shawn was like, oh my God,
I didn't think this, And then he said the second thought I had was, oh my God, we got to get on top of this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, and Taker was like, well, I can't get up on top of that. And Sean looked at him like, come on, man. What I believe the quote was, Taker, you're an athlete. You can climb that easy. And this is before they cut holes in it for everybody else. Because after Mick climbed up there, they decided, oh, we better start cutting holes in it for people to. Because, dude, the wrestler's foot's just too big to try to.
Fit that little bit in there.
Yeah, right. Okay, so the matches, though, that we get a Fatal 4-Way with Cross, Bliss, and Evans and Dana Brooks. And it was very good. And Nikki winds up getting a roll-up win. And I'm excited for her to get a title shot. I think this could be fun.
Oh, I think, yeah. I kind of wish they would. I kind of wish when Nikki loses, she like goes ape and like takes out Alexa Bliss and turns back to being like heel Nikki, like terrifying Nikki.
I've heard.
I like fun, happy Nikki, but
that's funny because I've heard people say the other way, right? Alexa gets jealous.
And that's why I went that way. Because everybody thinks it's going to be Alexa. I think it'd be cooler if it was Nikki.
You're right. Plus, it's always cooler when the obvious call isn't the obvious call, right?
Exactly, dude.
And nobody remembers that the Sanity version of Nikki was awesome.
Oh, see, that was what got her over for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. New Day versus Lucha House Party versus Miz and Morrison versus It's a 4-on-4. It's an 8-man tag, right? So it's Miz Morrison, Shinsuke Cesaro, House Party, and New Day, and that's quite a collection of talent.
Oh my God, yeah.
And we've seen some form of this a couple of times now. And Lucha House Party again gets the pin, and I find that interesting, and I like it very much. And I feel like they're the ones of the 4 that do need the pins in this scenario, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't feel formidable. But I do think, but they're incredible, dude.
Dude, those are two of the best. I wish somebody would get a hold of their costumes.
Oh my God. Come back.
Grand Elite, particularly, looks like.
Yes.
I don't know what.
Come back next week in some form of black, green, red, and white in a nice sleek mask and give it to us.
Yeah.
Put gold on there somewhere. You know what I mean? And just keep it simple. And well, but here's the thing though. If you do that, you got to be heels, right? Because you can't wear black if you're not a heel.
Yeah, that's lame.
But, I mean, come on, dude. They're so good. And I love Cesaro and Shinsuke. We all do. And I feel like something weird is rubbing me here. I feel like they're going to wind up, not like literally, I'm by myself. But Corbin and Shinsuke, I think, are going to get anointed champs. I don't know why I think that, but it just feels like it's the right thing to do for the division. I think that Miz and Morrison wind up breaking up because I think that's the right thing to do for the singles division. I feel like if you want Braun to have a match I care about, John's going to have to be in it unless it's Bray Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're just booking him that way. Now, Jeff Hardy winds up getting revenge here, or getting a chance at revenge. He gets beat up. Again, interesting. I didn't think about it until we just said this. This time Jeff goes over, but again, the story of the match was Jeff got beat up the whole time and kept answering the bell, kept answering the bell, but Baron's not Taker, right? Baron wasn't able to put him away. And he gets the one move out of the way. Baron hits his shoulder on the steps. He gets one basic offensive move, and it's a win. And I liked it because it reminds you of Jeff and how he got to be Jeff. I liked it because Jeff could use a win right here, and that can help him get into the things with Sheamus down the road. They did wind up going uber babyface by bringing New Day out as Corbin jumps Jeff after the match. I didn't hate this. It just felt a little forced when they had the bro Riddle come in as well, because it's like, why would they even care whether he got in there or not? But obviously they want him to get that babyface rub. Corbin took everybody's finish, which is great. He should. Corbin, we're going on multiple years now of whenever you need somebody to get humiliated, Corbin's that guy, and you have to be incredibly formidable for that to matter. Does that make sense?
It does.
Like,
He's a much better Chavo Guerrero than Chavo Guerrero was at that point.
well, like when you wanted Becky to get the rub with The Rock, Baron Corbin's the guy you put in the ring.
Yeah.
You know, and that says a lot. When you say, "Hey, we're gonna do a moment here where we got to have literally the most hated guy in the company go down right here." If you make it, I mean, there's a lot of way to make it in this business, and being the most hated guy in your company is one of them.
Yes.
And
that is the point there.
Hey, and that deep six he put on Jeff,
That was good, didn't it?
Baron is good, man. He is underrated. I mean, he's a big athletic guy. It's just for whatever reason they keep him in that crown.
I know, dude. It's weird.
You like the fuzzy shoulders, don't you?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. It's just awesome.
Would it be cooler
It's terrible.
if they hooked him up with the with furry boots?
No, that would not be cool.
Are you sure?
No.
Like take the onesie off, take the pants off of him, and oh, come on, help me out here.
Have a loincloth, like Conan style or something?
I was thinking more along the lines of Bruiser Brody.
Okay. Yeah, no. Let's not do any of this.
Bruiser
Just
Brody,
like a normal.
Bruiser Brody may have been a moment in time that does not need to be taken and put into another time. Yeah.
No.
You can't look tough in furry loincloth anymore?
No.
All right, well.
Well, you got. I'm going to say Baron Corbin would not look tough in a furry loincloth.
Do you think I got a shot, though?
Yeah, definitely. You do. You should try this.
Okay. Well, on that note, I had a great week watching wrestling. You?
I did.
All right, man. Thank you for answering the phone today. I appreciate it, buddy.
Man, yes, sir.
For Justin, for me, KP, this has been a Go Home Heat production. Copyright 2020. Go home.
Like it.